I have such a great show for you today. My guest today is someone that I met on Facebook, which I just love Facebook for that reason. But it's law of attraction at its finest. It's meeting people that you are in alignment with, that are excited about life, that are creating a fulfilling experience. And I'm so excited to share his story with you. So I've got a nice long bio for you. So hang in there with me, because this guy has an incredible life story. And it's one that I think we have to start at the beginning of, so we understand the foundations of what he speaks from. Robert Radnoti is a successful life coach and strategist who shaped thousands of clients, athletes, and business organizations to improve performance. He coaches how to implement custom life strategies in two key areas for a legendary life. Love that. The science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. His life has been full of hard-earned lessons and challenging experiences. He was born during the Hungarian Revolution, where English was his secondary language. Growing up in Las Vegas, he went from delivering newspapers, working as a dishwasher and a cook, to receiving academic and athletic achievements from the University of Colorado at Boulder, with a chemical engineering degree and MBA from UCLA. So he's super smart. His real life family experiences of divorce, suicide, bipolar depression, addictions with drug and alcohol all gave him the personal foundation to develop, transform, and reshape his professional life coaching techniques. It is in our contrast that we become more. For 20 years, he implemented business management strategies while working for ExxonMobil, one of the largest companies in the world, and became their quality leadership advisor. He then quit all that corporate and financial success with a wife, a mortgage, and 2 kids to follow his passion to become a coach that cultivated into a life coach. After 40 years of being driven to run expertise and recognized as a well-respected coach, he successfully has led corporate, collegiate, and high school track and field teams to national prominence. Announcing his retirement with Pepperdine University in Malibu as their division head track and field coach, he continues with his solid professional life coaching business, continually improving his tool bag of life, which I love, coaching brilliance. He received leadership credentials from distinguished programs, including Institute for Life Coach Training, Investment in Excellence, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders, the Hoffman Process, Ho'oponopono, love that, and has traveled the world studying with Tony Robbins as a platinum member and senior leader, exploring human excellence and results coaching. Today, he's a professional businessman, entrepreneur, philanthropist, visionary, and passionate life coach, currently enriching his BCC credentials as a certified hypnotherapist from HMI, a world-leading school. His legacy is built from the solid foundation of real life experiences that has made him into an authentic leader of excellence with proven outcome results in the business world, on the field, and in service to the community as a humanitarian. Please help me welcome Robert.
I can't believe someone wrote that about me.
No, isn't it? Sometimes it's hard to hear that stuff about you. And sometimes it's like, wow, I really have done a lot of stuff, haven't I?
Well, I'm happy to be here with you, Goldyn.
Well, I am absolutely honored and blessed that we connected and that you are here to share your wisdoms. I think one of the things that really attracted me to you is your love for Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I also have, and your experiences with being one of his, is it called a coach? Are you like one of his coaches?
I'm one of his corporate trainers and coaches in a company that he created called NeuroChange Solutions. And it's designed to bring his program based on the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, into corporations.
I love that so much. And that kind of work, I mean, you got into that. Let's start at the beginning. Where did you start? I mean, you've been through a lot of stuff. First of all, I want to say I loved that you quit your corporate job and did something you felt passionate about. Was that like super scary? Was your wife like, what are you doing?
Well, it's such an interesting story because my parents came over from Hungary during the revolution, 1956, for a better life for my sister and I. And so he was really proud of me that I became an engineer, worked for Exxon, had a great job. And one day called him up and said, "Dad, I'm quitting Exxon to become a high school track and field and cross country coach. And they're going to pay me $2,000 a year. and my wife didn't work. She was stay-at-home mom with our two kids. And somehow
Oh
I
my God.
thought that everything's going to work out. And of course, it did. Literally, I
Did.
was out of work one day after and Exxon didn't believe I was quitting to become a track coach. They actually made me work for my 2 months. I had a 2-month contract. And
Yeah.
normally in big corporations, as soon as they announce that you're resigning, the security guard comes and throws you out right away because they don't want you to steal company secrets. And
Right.
so I had my box all lined up. I had my personal things. I'm ready to go. And after about an hour, I thought, hey, what's going on? So I walked down to my boss. I said, hey, when's Joe, the security guy, coming? He goes, he's not coming. I said, what are you talking about? I'm ready to go. He said, we don't think you're really quitting. I said, what do you mean you don't think I'm quitting? I already started coaching at nighttime with these high school kids. I'm quitting. And he said, we're going to make you work because we don't think you're quitting. And I worked that. And I was planning on that money because they pay you the two months worth of salary. And so I had to work and stay there. But the day after my last day, a rival oil company called me up and offered me a job. And I said, hey, did you hear what I did? I quit Exxon. They said, great. I said, but to become a high school coach. And then this happens to me all the time. And maybe this is one of my messages. I get these messages or downloads sometimes. And I think it's from 25 plus years ago when I read the book Celestine Prophecy, which was that just be on the lookout, be aware of what's happening because there's messages all the time in life. And I heard one of those and it was just, oh, but I might be looking for some part-time work. And the guy goes, we hadn't thought about that, but why don't we go have lunch? And so we had lunch that day. And he said, talk to management. We really need a full-time person. I was in a specialized thing at that time, which they really wanted me for. Exxon was like 20 years ahead is because of what we did in post Valdez to make sure we essentially were designing out human error. And they needed me for that. And he said, we really want you to do this. And we're willing to hire you part-time, but it would have to be as a contractor. And again, my mind goes off and go, Exxon used to hire these part-time contractors and we pay them a lot of money. And he goes, well, when can you start? I go, I don't know. I don't have a company or not or anything. What do I need to do to start? And then again, this thing stops. It comes to me. He said, my dad has an engineering company in Phoenix. It's electrical engineering, but maybe I could go under him temporarily. He goes, why don't you call him? I said, okay. So he hands me, one of those big phones that were like a brick with the thing on it. And I call my dad and I explained to him what's going on. He goes, yeah. I said, I have a piece of paper with my engineers on it. I'll just put you at the bottom of it. And then you're working for us now. Wow. And I said, what about, benefits and all that? He goes, it's one extra person. There's not any extra money. And so literally I started work the next day. I tripled my salary as a consultant. I worked from 7 till 1 and I left at 1 o'clock to be with the track and field and cross country team at 2 o'clock. And it was just phenomenal. But again, because of
there's a couple of really cool messages in there. One is you have no idea what's going to happen when you say yes to what's calling to you, right? Most people feel afraid to listen to those voices because they're like, well, how in the world can I live on $2,000 a year? That's ridiculous, right? So you can't fathom that some other company is going to call you and get you to think outside the box. The other thing is listening to those intuitions and noticing the signs is being awake. That's being awake to life. It's being awake to universal orchestration. And that's where the miracles happen. That's where the flow of life happens. So, wow, what a cool story that you manifested all of that so quickly too, within a day.
It was phenomenal. I was so excited. Everyone was so excited. My dad was relieved. My wife was super supportive because she knew that was my passion. And she knew that something would work out just the way it would. She had a lot of confidence in me. So that was kind of cool too.
I love that. I love the faith and the trust that you both took forward in going, it's all going to work out for us. That's such a great spiritual way of living, right?
Yeah.
So what was your big awakening? What got you interested in personal development and dedicating your life to helping other people to expand and grow?
I don't know that I know the answer to that, but as I was talking about Celestine prophecy, that was a big thing that kind of got me looking. And then the next thing that I could at least remember at this point is a program called Investment in Excellence that Exxon brought in.
Okay.
Exxon's really, really great about developing people. And this
Love it.
was a 6-day program, 3 days separated by a month, and then 3 days, so that you would
Yep.
go try these things, and
Yep.
then 3 days you come back and do it. And it was
Cool.
an affirmation process, but the
Okay.
best affirmations I've ever seen. Like most affirmations are, I am love, I am joy, I am rich, something like this. But
Yep.
this was a 3-part affirmation. And it
Okay.
was, because I've done something, I've accomplished this, and that makes me feel. And I think those are really, really important. And their process was to write these affirmations on a 3x5 card
Okay.
and then think about it in the morning and night. And I wrote 57 of them that first that event. And
Wow.
I was a 25-year-old engineer. I had no business writing most of the affirmations I wrote, including one that was something like, because of my passion for track and field and cross country, I am a Division I head coach at a major university, and that makes me feel like I accomplished something great in life.
Wow.
Because the circumstances to become the head track and field and cross country coach at Pepperdine University, it's this like mind
Yeah.
boggling how
Yeah.
it happened. It should not happen. I don't think I know anyone that went from being an engineer to a head coach at a Division I university. It just doesn't happen, but it happened.
I
And
love it.
I really attribute it to the investment in excellence program and that affirmation process. And as of just a couple years ago, when I finished my first book, that was my last of the 57 affirmations I wrote. Every single one of them have been accomplished now.
That is incredible. All right. So a little slowly, can you just say that in case, because people take notes, can you just say what that affirmation process was?
Sure. Sure.
I'm
So
writing this down.
because I've done something, so there's an action.
I've done. Okay. I love this. Love this. Love action.
I have accomplished this,
Okay.
and it makes me feel.
Yep. Love it.
So, as an example, because I have been writing my morning pages every day,
Love morning pages.
I've become a pretty good writer and have written a best-selling book. And that makes me feel like I've contributed and shared my message to the world. It makes me feel powerful and loved.
I love it. So let's talk about the science of what you're doing when you put out an affirmation into the world, because obviously you have proved that this works.
Okay, so now if you want to talk about science,
Yeah.
then we start getting into Dr. Joe stuff.
Yes.
And the science of that is just mind-blowing. It's really the reason I became a NeuroChange Solutions consultant and trainer for him, because I wanted to learn it more. I wanted
Yeah.
to learn it deeply. It's
Yeah.
just not, like a lot of personal development kinds of things. You hear these things and you go, oh, okay, yeah, a lot of people have done them. If you just think good, positive thoughts, it's
Yeah.
not about positive thinking. It's about rewiring your brain, and that there's these neurosynapses in your brains and neural networks that you are changing. You have to break or prune the things that you used to think, and you
Yeah.
have to rewire and rethink and recreate new ones. And if you think about your brain, it's like a computer,
Yep.
and you are programming your own computer to create the life that you want, that you deserve, and that you can create your own reality. You don't need to have a vacation because you've created something, but you have to program your own mind. And that's the first step, is to realize that if you want to change, you have to change you.
Yeah.
It's not your partner. It's not your boss. It's not your city that you live in. It's not any of those things. You have to change you. And if
Absolutely.
you start thinking differently If you have different thoughts, they lead to different options. And those different options then can learn to different choices, different behaviors. Those behaviors then create some different actions, and then they create different results or feelings. And that creates this cycle where you're
Yes.
now reprogramming your mind. It's all about the neuroscience.
Incredible. Incredible. So when you do these affirmations, you're actually reprogramming because you're sending in a new thought, a new intention, new energy. But the part about the affirmation that I love that a lot of affirmations miss is the action, because we
Well,
have to take some sort of action, right, to
yes,
activate, and then the
yep.
feeling, because the feeling is what
Feeling.
changes everything, right?
I think it's the
Mm.
feeling. I think
Yeah.
it's the feeling. You have to feel as if it's already occurred.
Yes.
I mean,
Which is
I
challenging
could
for
feel
people.
I
Yeah.
could feel being the head track and field and cross country coach. I knew what that was. I there was like no doubt in my mind.
Wow. Wow.
And
So
and then it over
yeah, that's not even like thinking about it. That's a knowing that it has to come because you know it so viscerally. But because you took the steps towards it, like if you were still at your Exxon job and you were thinking about that, you'd feel too far from it. But because you took the steps towards it, it became more and more and more of a reality until it was.
Well, I think that, just even thinking about all the things, all the experiences you go through, because just as you asked that question, not only did I do that, but I was really listening to that message from Celestine Prophecy. I keep coming back to that. And I haven't done
Yes.
that in years because
Yes.
there were little things that I saw and said, oh, I've just heard that there's an opportunity there. Now, someone else took the opportunity. Bummer. Oh, I just heard that that guy that took the opportunity, he backed out. I should call him up and say, hey, is it okay if I tried to go for your opportunity? And it was just all these things that were happening. But you've got to open up your mind
Yeah.
to hearing, seeing, feeling,
Yeah.
sensing, intuiting
Yep.
what's happening on your life, becoming conscious of your unconscious in many
Yes.
ways.
Yes.
We
And
don't
you
notice
have
these things. There's
to,
always things happening in your life that are
right.
magical.
It's so true. And paying attention and being awake to them is the biggest part of the journey, because if you shut it down, like if you, in that very first moment where you found out that somebody else got the job, if you shut it down at that point, you give up, you're like, forget it, this isn't going to work, I'm going to go back to corporate America, you cut yourself off. I always point to this wave because we're in the middle of a wave, and then the wave just crashes down because we're like, forget it, it's not going to work. When you continue to move forward and watch that, what you're doing, which I love so much, it's one of my favorite things to do, is watching the energy field unfold for you and following. It's like following breadcrumbs, right?
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about now the law of attraction and
Yes.
Abraham Hicks that I'm just recently getting into, and
Right.
actually having a debate in my head because I think, and even what we just talked about is sort of the law of assertion. So
Yes.
because I've got an action, this
Yep.
happens, and I feel that's assertion. And
Yep.
I, for my whole life, think that I could just assert or manifest things to happen, and a lot of stuff does. Then all of a
Yes.
sudden, I run into this Abraham Hicks being, non-physical being. And they're saying, that's all wrong. You're
Yes.
not supposed, you just
Yes.
ask, and then it just automatically happens. You attract it by vibrating high. And I'm
Yes.
sitting here going like, huh, I wonder if that's really what was going on because as I've been doing things, I feel and notice that I'm vibrating higher and higher. And
Mhm.
then all of a sudden I'm seeing things now because I've sort of trained myself to see the things that are coming to me. I'm able to then pursue that. So somewhere in the middle of all that is a combination. And I guess for me, you asked for sort of message. It is to open your eyes to see more, to grow, to be in that place where you're just open to everything. And everyone's got a different path. My path is totally different than yours and everyone else's. And the message to your audience is just be on the path, be
Yeah.
on the journey, look out, and whatever comes your way, that was what was meant to be.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think when it comes to, even messages from Abraham Hicks and us refining our own processes, because I think it is different for everybody in the way that they understand, right? Like we all understand at a different level. We're all at a different level of our awakening. And I've studied Abraham for a very long time. And my understanding is that as long as we are activating some sort of energy, we're not just sitting there wishing and hoping and being in lack and a little bit of misery, because that's a low frequency. If we're in excitement, if we're moving forward, if we're looking for the signs, if we're following our heart's path, or those inspirations, those downloads, like we all get downloads like Abraham Hicks. It's just, do we listen to them or not? And then following that path where more and more and more things unfold. But the most important thing is not needing to know the end result, like not needing to know the how of how you're going to get there, because that will kill you right away if you try to figure that out. And instead just following and trusting. I think that's a big piece of this. Trusting that it's all going to work out.
Well, and that is a big piece of it, I think, is that you have to develop that over time,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
or just kind of, hypnotize yourself into it, that it's going to be that way. But you have to really believe in yourself. You have to have sort of self-love
Yeah.
and have a feeling that you're worthy and deserving. And that's a challenge for everyone, I think, at some points in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for people that kind of get stuck in a cycle of, I have a couple of them that I follow on Facebook, of just unluckiness and always bad things happen to me. And it's like, if you're in that thinking, that's your trajectory, right? Like those are your responses to life. So you're going to keep experiencing more of that. What can people do? Because we do have people that are in a serious struggle right now, whether it's mentally, financially, their health. What can we do? What can we suggest or advise for people who are maybe just starting out on this journey? Like what are some of the first steps people can do to kind of get themselves out of the life suck into really enjoying life?
It's a really good question. I don't know that you or I can answer that question because we aren't in that kind of position like we were talking about.
But
I had I had a
we've
I
been
had
there,
a
right?
I had a friend call me last night,
Yes.
past midnight, and they were walking the streets. They'd been evicted. They had no money. They're trying to find a place to sleep. And this is someone that's been pretty successful. At least that's my perception.
Yeah.
And, I ended up just saying, you just need to go find a job. Here's a little bit of money. Go get yourself a hotel room for tonight. I
Yeah.
know someone in that area that might be looking for someone. I'll connect you to that person, but you need to take action and find a job. At the
Yeah.
same time I say that, the person needs to vibrate at a place where if they go get a job interview, that they're not walking in, I need a
Yeah.
job, but
Yeah.
they're coming in like, I'm the best person you could hire. You need to
Yes.
hire me because I'm going to be amazing for you.
Yes.
And one of the things that I heard from Abraham in March, and that was my first experience with them,
Yes.
was that when your life's momentum is going down,
Mm-hmm.
you have to feel that, but shift your mindset to go to vibration. Just think of anything that's fun or interesting. And I've
Yes.
been using that when I'm not when I'm sensing in my body that I'm not, vibrating high. Just think of fun and interesting things. And it's
Yes.
easy to think.
Yeah.
A lot of it, if I just a song comes on or I start singing a song, um,
Yeah.
I've got some favorite songs that just pop into my head, and that's a download all the time. I get songs that pop into my head, and I go, "It wasn't on the radio.
Yeah.
Why did that particular song pop in my head?" And I try to figure out, and this happened, I remember I was walking down the street one day up in Pismo Beach and kind of going, I was just kind of in an average, normal day.
Yeah.
And then what popped into my head was the song, "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." Na, na, and I started singing it.
Love that
And
song.
and I do too. But here's the kind of cool thing. I'm walking, and as I'm walking, kind of with this in my head, going, I wonder why that's here. There was this yellow small building on the left side. It turned out to be a little church.
Okay.
And at that point, I wasn't a churchgoer, but it had a marquee on it.
Okay.
And the sign on the marquee was, "Come to the mountain that's high enough Sunday."
Oh gosh. Chills. I got chills. Wow.
And I go, "Okay, well, I don't know, but there's a song that came into me. There's a marquee. I'm going to follow that." And I went to church on that Sunday. And again, I wasn't a churchgoer at that time.
Yep.
And the message from the pastor or minister or reverend, whatever it was, I don't remember it now, but it was just right on
Just,
for what I needed at that point.
I love that. And
I
that's what
share
I say.
that story because
Yeah.
it's again, it comes back to that Celestine
Yes.
prophecy. It's like, just become aware of all these signs because everyone's getting them and we just don't notice them until we start to train ourselves to notice them. And then they're there all the time.
Totally, totally. And that's when I say things like, you can't make this up. Like, you can't
Exactly.
even make it up because there's so much perfection and orchestration in the universe that if you would just pay attention, your life would become magical. And I love that. And music is a great vibration changer. I share
Yeah.
that all the time. Music and nature, if you can embrace those two things, and meditation, of course, you can embrace a lot of the reality of what's really going on around us, because everything else is really an illusion, you know?
Well, maybe it's not even reality,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because if I listen to Dr. Joe, and I do,
Yes.
what he talks about is our 3D world. It's not reality.
Yeah.
We are all energetic beings. And,
Yes.
one of the fascinating things I think about or been thinking about is just, what are we made up? We're made up of atoms and
Yes.
molecules, and atoms are made up of electrons flying around. From
Mhm.
my old things I learned in school, they were
Yeah.
flying around this little nucleus with a proton and neutron.
Yep.
And that 99.99999 bunch of nines percent is space, and only that 0.10111111 is matter. And you go like, oh, how come I'm hitting mostly space
Yeah.
and it's there?
Feels like matter.
It feels like matter.
Yeah.
And just in this last advanced follow-up with Joe, he said that there's now microscopes that are so sophisticated. They're looking at the electron and the proton, neutron, and something else that are smaller than that. And it doesn't exist anymore. It's just energy. So it's literally 100% of everything is now energy. There is no real matter. It's only from our minds that we've created ourselves.
Right.
Everything around us.
And everything
It's
around
like
us.
it's mind blowing. And as an engineer coming from that world of Newtonian physics, it's really a challenge for me to go, what are you talking about? Everything I'm looking at is space.
Yes.
And it's just thoughts and energy. And then I have friends that come from that world. I got a
Yeah.
bunch of starseed friends and
Woo-hoo.
floating around, and flower child, and
Yeah.
all these people I keep meeting.
Yeah.
And they just talk about these things. And I go, I got to learn this. I got to learn this because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that we're 100% matter.
Yeah.
And I'm wrong. I'm
No,
wrong.
it's another level of living in this energy field where, like, often I'll look outside. I live in a beautiful place, right? Orange County is absolutely
Yep.
beautiful. And I'll look outside and I'll go, I created this. And because it's so perfect to what I would want in the world that I live in. So I would say, if you're not living in that, if you're not surrounded by beauty, if you're not surrounded by what you love, I would work on to changing that so that you can realize that you're creating all of it, that you
Yeah.
get to choose what comes into your experience and what you experience in life in general. Because if we believe that we're energy, if everything is energy and we're contributing to the energy field, what are we contributing? What is happening in your world? It is a reflection of the energy that you are putting out, that signal, right? Like that giant signal that you're beaming day in and day out. You got cranky people, you got a cranky boss, you got a cranky spouse. Look at yourself, because they are the reflection of the world that you are creating.
Well, that's exactly right. And so the only way and the best way or a great way to find out how you're doing is how you feel. And
Yes.
again, I'm an engineer, so this feeling thing is kind of new to me. I'm trying to feel. And I go, man, I actually feel great. So my vibration is high. And when I don't feel so great, my vibration is low. And now I just think of fun and interesting things. And I go back to that place of being high. And all of a sudden, magic happens again. So
Yeah.
when you asked the question earlier, what would we recommend to people?
Yes.
I hate to say it, but it's just figure out a way to, in your mind, feel good,
Yeah.
feel happy, feel fun and interesting. And like I'm also a hypnotherapist that I learned to do because I wanted to hypnotize my athletes to run faster.
Love that.
Is another story that is kind of interesting. But the mind doesn't know whether it's real or imagined.
Amazing.
And given that, you can hypnotize yourself into success, into creating a reality that you don't need a vacation from, just by imagining it and thinking about it and setting it there. And now Abraham would say is just do it one time. That's your ask. And then
Yeah.
just vibrate high, eliminate all resistance, and then you'll
Yes.
attract it.
That's the easy way. That's the easiest way to manifestation. It's the easiest way. It's to just, I always say it's like putting your order in with the universe. Like, when you go on Amazon and you order something, well, you don't keep ordering it. You order it once.
Sometimes you do.
Like, at your door. It's at my door within 2 hours now. I don't even know how they're doing this, right? So when you ask, it is given every time. What messes up the energy field is when we keep asking, when we keep feeling in lack, when we keep trying all these different things in desperation. And it really is, I believe it's Neville Goddard that talks about before you go to sleep at night, that being the most powerful time. I think Wayne Dyer, actually, I just saw a video on him talking about the same thing. When you're falling asleep at night, that's when you open up that subconscious, right? You let go of consciousness when you're sleeping. And that's when, if you put in those visualizations right before you go to sleep, that is the most powerful time. And then when you wake up in the morning, you've kind of marinated all night around your dreams and what you want to experience. So when you wake up, you should wake up and feel good, right?
Okay, so let's talk about what you just said from a
Yeah.
neuroscience perspective, because I think it's kind of cool. So, like
Okay.
when we're talking here,
Yeah.
our brain waves are vibrating at a frequency, it's called the beta brainwave frequency.
Yes.
But when you slow down and your inner world becomes more significant than your outer world, you go to the alpha brainwave state. And that's sort of a meditative state.
Yep.
If you slow down further, you go to theta brainwave frequency, and that's called the hypnotic frequency. That's where you're the most open to suggestions. In hypnosis, that's all hypnosis means, is that you're in a brainwave frequency where you're the most open to hypnosis. So when I'm working with clients, I get them down to theta.
Yep.
By slowing their brain waves down, and then I can suggest things into their subconscious that their subconscious will remember. If you slow down further, you go into delta, and delta is deep sleep.
Yep.
So everyone goes through these phases at least twice a day, when you're waking up and when you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
And so getting to that theta place, again, that's where you're the most suggestible. You could do suggestibility to yourself by doing exactly what you said, or, that's how advertising works.
Right.
Oftentimes during the day, either maybe you're watching TV or listen to radio while you're driving, and you kind of zone out a little bit.
Yeah. Wow.
And you're falling into that hypnotic state. That's why advertising works, because they are programming into your mind, oh, I need to drink coffee or a Coke or buy a car or whatever it is. And you hit that over and over again into your subconscious. And that's the way advertising works. But you can do this for yourself.
Yes.
Exactly what you're talking about. You can start, and meditation is a great way to do it. You just slow yourself down, and then you can even go a little bit further. And like you said, when you're first waking up or you're just going to sleep, you're close to that theta state. That's where you can do things like gratitude and what do I want? What do I want? What am I enjoying in life? And putting yourself into that high vibrational frequency.
Yes.
That then you're programming your mind, that computer that we talked about earlier, because that's what it's all about. You need to program yourself if you want your life to change.
Yes. That's so good. So this question just popped up, and I'm not sure why, but maybe you have an answer for me about this. When you first started meditating, did your mind go crazy? Because being a super logical person, meditation is kind of it's at the other end of that. It's the other spectrum of logic, because it makes that I've had clients like this. It makes no sense for me to sit there and do nothing. Like nothing's happening. Why am I doing this? Right? Then your mind goes wild. Did your mind go crazy when you first started to meditate?
Both my kids went to Naropa University. It's a Buddhist school where they do a lot of meditating, and
Oh,
they tried to
cool.
teach me that, sitting there. First of all, I can't even sit. I
Oh,
like roll over. And no, I cannot just sit there and think of nothing. I never could do it. So I said, I termed myself a failure in meditation.
yes.
But that was my only reference to what meditation was, sitting there in the quiet and not thinking of anything. Couldn't do it. But
Yeah.
then when I went to Dr. Joe Dispenza, he does guided meditation,
Love
and
them.
he has music and his voice and everything. And and I'm still not perfect at this or even really good at
Oh,
it, I'd say,
I don't think
but
anyone is.
I listen to the music and his
Yeah.
voice, these guided meditations, and I can go to pretty good places. Now, my mind still drifts.
Sure.
Yeah, honestly, it drifts. But he
But
has
that's
some
the
walking
practice.
yeah,
That's
he
the
has some walking meditations that are
Yep.
really good. But what I really realized is my true meditative state for me is when I run, because
Yes.
I run nearly every day, and I have since I was a kid. I'm a runner,
Yep.
and I go out on trails. I like to go in nature, and my mind spaces out, and I'm no longer mostly thinking about it. I have a meditative state, and so that's my meditative state. That's when I have slowed my brainwave frequency down to alpha or theta,
Yep.
and I have all sorts of amazing things happen during those states.
I love that. I love that so much. And believing that you can do it is a big part of being able to do it. And then finding those moments where I feel that way in yoga a lot, where I'm just like, oh, it's such bliss because there's no thoughts. Like you have to focus on your body. And so when it comes to guided meditations, I love them. I used to be a silent meditator. I learned to be a silent meditator. And it really is a muscle that you strengthen over time. But what I've noticed with the guided meditations is I call it the lazy man's meditation, because your mind needs something to focus on. If I can train my mind to focus on nothing because I've been meditating for 25 years, but if you're new to meditation, that music, that voice, whatever it is that can give your mind something to focus on will help you to drop in a lot easier. So I'm a huge proponent of guided. I love it.
It's worked for me.
Yeah.
And then really the realization is that there's multiple ways you can meditate,
Yep.
and just saying, hey, I've been meditating my whole life, and when I run. And that
Exactly.
sort of, like you talked about earlier, the concept of trust and
Yeah.
belief and confidence. All of a sudden I use that. So I use something else. I use that to build my confidence. And that's helped me in my guided meditations. And even sometimes when I'm doing the silent ones,
Yeah.
because I can do it.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the biggest part of like not judging your practice and just working towards it. I refer to it as like going to the gym. We work our muscles out. This is working out our mind, training our mind to settle so that we can be in that higher state of consciousness where all creation begins, right?
Yeah, and again, kind of borrowing from Abraham, they recommend going to that meditative state so that it's on step 3 of their 5 steps, where
Yeah.
you're kind of chilling and you're just allowing your inner being or your Holy Spirit or your source, universe, whatever people want to believe, that it's
Yeah.
taking care of you and helping your ask materialize from energy to matter.
Yeah, because you're literally letting go. You're letting go of the need to know and the desperation and the trying so hard. You're letting go. And that's what invites universal forces into your life. That's what allows universal forces to have space to help you create. And that's where that partnership comes in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it wonderful
I love
discovering these things?
I love it. I wouldn't want to live any other way. And it's why I get up every day and want to shout it from my rooftop. And I pretty much do.
And then you have a golden moment or hour or day.
Exactly. I want to talk about what you're doing for your travel, because this is one of the things that really attracted me to you is just, first of all, you're a bright light out there. You're living your life to the fullest. And I'm on your train. Like, we're on the same train of living life in abundance and potential and saying yes to things. So talk about your travel and what's coming up for you. And I'm going to put your little Facebook group up here so people can find you.
Oh, okay. I have a Facebook group called
That's
Travel RRI.
travel. Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I I
yeah,
hired an assistant to kind of help market some things, and
I
she's
love
just
it.
amazing. But I don't even know what she's doing. She's
I
just
love
doing
it.
it.
Yeah.
But so one of the things when I was coaching at Pepperdine, I
Yep.
had this. We were not required, but all the coaches, we had camps on campus. We weren't paid a lot, so they would let you have camps on campus in the summertime for high school kids.
Okay.
And there was someone, a pretty famous track coach that before I got there did an adult running camp. And I go, wow, that's like really cool. I
Yeah.
should do that. And I should pick places that I want to go in the world and do like a week-long running camp. At the end of the week, we would do like a 5 or 10K. I
I love
never
it.
did that, but I kept that in the back of my mind somewhere stored in there. So
Yeah.
that when I became a neurochange solutions consultant, I thought, I'm now certified to go teach adults this brilliant neuroscience about change. How about if I go to places that I want to go
I love it.
and have the training there?
Yeah.
So last summer, I rented a yacht in Croatia and I took 25 people there and I taught in the mornings. And then we went and enjoyed Croatia. February, I took a group to Thailand because I wanted to go to Thailand. Never been there. It's kind of cool. We had an 11-day journey. My next one is going to be in Greece. I rented a yacht again, and we're going to go cruise the Greek islands to the hidden gems, they're called. So not the places that a lot of people have gone to that are kind of big touristy places, but the hidden gems. I got this small travel company called More Travel, Moore Travel or Exploration, and he is just brilliant at at really delighting the customer, which is me and everyone I bring. And
Love
so
it.
we're going to go July 29th to August 5th to Greece, and we're going to cruise around. In the mornings, I'm going to do my teaching with Dr. Joe, and then we're going to get to the island and go have just magical experiences. Later on this year, I've got one planned for Vietnam, and then Guadalupe, an island in the Caribbean, Bali, the Philippines, and wherever my mind just makes up and says, I need to go there, we're going to have an event there and just go.
I am totally picturing myself with you. And I have to say, Robert and I had lunch the other day, which I love that we got to meet in person. It's very, very rare that we get to meet our Facebook friends in person, but his energy is off the charts. And I didn't want to leave you. We walked around for a while because I was like, I'm not ready to leave you. So just being in your presence alone, that's one thing people need to understand. Energy transference when you are hanging out with somebody who's high vibrational, not to mention who Robert attracts to come onto these vacations. Like, you don't even know who you're going to meet and what it's going to lead to. And I felt like the price point was really reasonable. So look up his travel group. And if you want to go, he's got a few spots left. I would say, hell yes, this thing. If I could go, I'm looking for a miracle so that I can go, so that our schedule loosens up and we can do that. We've got a couple things on the
I know. I still want to talk to your husband about
I
that.
know, I know. And I'm still like, I drop things to him from time to time to just plant those little seeds. But I know I'm going to be with you. So if not on this trip, another trip, but I'm already picturing myself on this. I mean, a private yacht. Come on, people. Like,
It's pretty cool. And
it's
we get to decide where we go and what we do. So like
yeah.
even in Thailand,
You said on your other trips that people even made connections and businesses were created. And
yes.
that's the thing, is we don't know what's going to unfold from just putting yourself in a high vibrational place like that.
Well, what Tony always says, it probably came from someone else, but that you become the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Totally
And
believe
so
that.
we have some really magical people that come on these trips. And I think from the Croatia trip, I think about 5 businesses, partnerships started from that one, and in Thailand also. And it's just magical. One of the things that you said, though, about high vibration that maybe this could be something we talk about.
Yeah.
My purpose or mission in life now is to love contagiously. And that was a download at Date with Destiny, a Tony Robbins event. And I, I, it's just really, really cool. I just did a podcast about it, my own podcast. I give out these little love buttons, these little
Okay,
love buttons. I don't know
hold
if
on,
you can
hold
see
on,
them.
hold on. She's
Oh
wearing one.
yeah, you got yours too.
It's sideways. I'm wearing mine.
Sideways. That's okay.
And I
Um,
love this idea. I love it so much. All right, so share what you're doing with us. It's so cool.
Well, it's something called the Love Button Global Movement, and I just buy the love buttons from them, usually 1,000 at a time, and then I just have them in my pants, in my cargo pants,
Yep.
shorts, and I just give them out to waiters, waitresses, or anyone I see standing in line, wherever. I just give them out, and I've given out about between 11 and 12,000 now in just the last couple of years, and it's really about loving contagiously. It really lights up people. But here's my aha over the last few months about it, because
Okay.
that was a 3D thing that I'm doing externally.
Yep.
And what I'm kind of deciding now is that it's really an internal thing. I get more value from just seeing the smile on someone's face. Just like when you showed your button, that lit me up. I vibrate higher because of it. And so I'm loving myself more contagiously in order to vibrate higher, in order to spread more love in the world. And that's what it's really all about for me now.
Because that's the signal that you're sending out, right? Like every time you do this, every time you button someone, you're activating love in your experience and their experience, which brings love into the consciousness of the world. And then who knows where that love's going to go, because you've just shifted that person into, oh my goodness, like somebody loves me, like somebody wants to pin me with love. So the vibration that you send out from doing this act, this physical act, becomes so energetic and such a light in the world that it changes the world that we live in. Something as small as this changes the world that we live in.
And it's I really believe that. And periodically people will send me a little note. I got one the other day from someone I met on the cruise ship, the Abraham cruise ship, that I gave her love button, and I gave her 4 more, one for her husband and 3 kids.
Yep.
And she sent me a note telling me that one of her sons loved it so much. He gave his, I think, to his teacher, who lit up. And then he came home and said, Mommy, can we get some more of those? And they ordered 300 of them. And they started, he asked her to take her to the mall so he could just give it to people in the mall. And she said that his life completely changed because of, he was very introverted, and they were a little bit worried about him. And all of a sudden he's out there giving love to people that he doesn't even know.
It's like it reminded him that he's love. And that's what you're doing. You're reminding people of love, that they are love, that we are love, right?
It was just so cool. And I'm sure that the founders of this movement, 2 doctors in California that started this, they don't even know the story, but it's just
I think you need to
really
share
cool.
it. We have some time. Do you want to share it? Because the story's pretty cool. And then like what manifested after the story was even cooler.
Well, the story of how I came upon this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So at that date with destiny, my 5th one, I think, after really terrible mission statements that were really corporate-y and long, I finally got this download that my purpose in life is to love contagiously. A couple of weeks after that, I was back home in California, and a group of us got together to make some gift baskets for a battered women's shelter. And the lady that was hosting had a bowl full of these love buttons. She said, just grab as many as you can or what. And I said, oh, this is great. This is loving contagiously. So I grew a big handful, put in my cargo pants, and then started giving them out during the holidays. And I noticed that people were really lighting up. I go, this is kind of cool. I want to get some more. I didn't know where they came from. So I looked at the little wrapper on it, and it said Love Button Global Movement. So I Googled it to find out what it was.
Yep.
And the banner picture was an aerial shot of the Super Bowl from a few years ago in San Jose when my Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl. So it's another sign. And the story was, part of the story was that Chris Martin from Coldplay, they were the halftime entertainment. He bought 75,000 of them and gave one to everyone in the stadium. And so I said, well, I'm not super rich like Chris Martin, but I decided to buy 1,000 and start giving them out. But the real story was that it was founded by these 2 doctors. They were husband and wife. They had a cancer patient who they had exhausted all the cancer treatments and she was going to die. So they just decided they're just going to pour love into her. And then the husband had this download of the logo, this little logo, and he drew it on a piece of paper and then cut it out in a circle and pinned it to his doctor's coat, went about his hospital rounds. People started noticing it. So he started making them for other doctors, nurses, staff. And then lo and behold, the lady survived. And they felt like, wow, that's a sign. They created the Love Button Global Movement, created this button now. First one were pins, and now they're magnets. So it's pretty cool. But here's the adder to the story. I think I shared it with you during our lunch.
I love it.
I was talking to someone I just given the love button to in Nashville at a Dr. Joe event just a month ago.
Yep.
And she started kind of tearing up. And I go, uh-oh. And I go, what's wrong? And she looked at me and she goes, I was the woman. And I said, what? She said, I was that woman. And I go, wow. I mean, I still get goosebumps just me telling the story. We ended up taking a selfie of the two of us. She sent it to the two doctors, and it was just like, it's such a cool thing. I'm just so glad that somehow came to me. And then this woman just showed up. I have a picture of her. I don't even know what her name is. I was so kind of floored.
That's the law of attraction. The law of attraction. You're putting out all of this frequency about this thing. Like, of course you're going to meet the woman. It's like perfect universal orchestration and a perfect gift for you that you've taken on this love contagiously thing. I just love that it came full circle. It's so amazing. And what a cool thing. I'm definitely going to order these. I love this.
Yeah, give them out.
I love it. I got it below. Love Button Global Movement. Let's start a movement of loving contagiously. When you're in love with life, with people, with yourself, you are in the highest frequency there is. You are in the purest essence of who you are. And there is nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it starts with you and self-love and developing, even if you don't have yet, but developing a sense and a knowingness eventually that you're worthy, you're deserving, you're more than enough. And one of the things I like to tell people, because, we beat ourselves up for all sorts of things. We're flawed, right? We're as flawed as humans. And I saw this word, this new word that is one of my favorite words. And it's a combination of the word flaw, because we're all flawed because we're human, and awesome.
Okay.
And it's flawsome. We're all flawsome. Awesome with all the flaws that we have. We deserve love. We deserve the things we've got. We are more than enough. We are loving, lovable, and loved.
I absolutely love that. And it is truth. That is solid, solid truth. I'm going to put your YouTube channel up here because I feel like people need a little juice from you. Like, listening to you is definitely an energy transference. I mean, as soon as I got on the show this morning, I was like, oh my gosh.
What are we going to talk about?
My fun Friday, even funner. You know what I mean? Because we're recording on a Friday. So it's like amazing that you have this spirit, that you've been given this incredible life that you've created for yourself. And now you get to share it with other people and show them how to do the same.
I am so grateful for my parents.
Yeah.
They escaped from Hungary during the revolution.
Wow.
In 1956. And I finished a book about it. And actually, I engaged a writer and a production team. We're going to make a movie about their life. I just wanted it for my kids and future generations. But it's such an inspirational story. They were caught by the Russians 3 times and jailed, and they escaped from jail. And the last time they were 2 miles from the border, and my dad wanted to turn around, go back to Budapest, and my mom said she's going with or without him. And so they agreed to try that last time, and they made it across the border into Austria, and the Austrians didn't know what to do with refugees. So they housed them in a former concentration camp until they got passage to the United States. And, on the passage to the United States, it was in December and the stormy seas, but my dad was a piano player, was playing piano to entertain the people. And the New York Times somehow found out about it, wrote a little, 2-inch column in the New York Times when everyone read the newspaper, and he had a long lost uncle that read that, came down to the boat, found them out of 5,000 people, took them home with them. He was a hat maker, so they couldn't afford to keep him. But the rich uncle lived in Las Vegas and owned the hair salon at the Sahara Hotel that he painted Elvis's hair black once it was no longer really jet black. And my parents were put on a train from New York to Las Vegas, and that's where I was born. And
Wow.
they came to the United States for a better life for me and my sister. And I am so appreciative of them. They're no longer here, but I love them and I love you. And
Yeah.
it's been a wonderful, loving contagiously segment right here.
I love it.
Thank
So
you.
you basically started your life out in one big miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. And
And
thank you.
isn't life one big miracle?
Life is one big miracle. It truly is. And when you live it in the way that life is precious, that life is, it is here for us. It is here for us to create. You get into this frequency that allows you to flow and to enjoy. That's what the most important thing we can do is enjoy our lives and to create more joy and love for those around us and show them, give them permission to stop living in the struggle and start living and thriving. So thank you so much, Robert. This was so
It's been a
amazing.
pleasure and honor.
I need to have you on again because you're so fun. I just want to keep doing this.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for listening. We love you all. We are loving you all contagiously. Get yourself a love button, spread the love in the world, and peace.
Peace.
Peace. All right.